All right, what's up, our peeps? Joshua Smith here, joined by my good friend, personal health and fitness mentor, and business partner, Jim Brown, for another GSD mode podcast health and fitness series. Now, real quick before we jump in, make sure if you guys haven't already that you check out Forge Life, FORJLIFE.com. Check out this is Jim Brown's formulation of our nootropics. So if you're looking for more mental energy, more clarity, more focus, I'm telling you guys, this is a game changer. You can check it out at FORJLIFE.com. They're also, wherever you're watching or listening, the top link below in the description of the show notes will be a link that you can go right to the website and check this out. All right, so I had to throw in a quick shameless plug there. Jim, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. On 10 capsules myself today. I've corporate training and I've had a long week. So took 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Some days I get to 15, but usually 10. Yeah, because
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, it's such a world changer, man. It's such a,
Yeah.
got me to the point where I don't really drink coffee anymore.
Yep.
My from looking at screens all day, my eyes are not nearly as tired. Just the
Yeah.
sustained mental energy. I don't get the highs, the lows, that I do off some other stimulants. Yeah, no, you nailed it with this formula, dude.
We
So
did good with it. Yeah, we did good with it.
yeah, man. So jumping in, man. All right, dude. So I want to talk to you about, because we talk so much about the importance of skeletal muscle, and not necessarily, for when it comes to longevity, not necessarily being a bodybuilder, like, being able to jump on stage, but like, having healthy amounts of skeletal muscle is so extremely important, all stages of life, especially as we get into our older years. And you're somebody that obviously people can't see it on this podcast, but like if you're standing next to me, you make me look like a freaking ant, right? Like so anybody that sees you is like, holy shit, dude, this massive, right? But a big myth that a lot of people have is, well, if I want to get big, if I want to maintain that muscle, then I got to do as minimal cardio as possible. But you're somebody that always does a ton of cardio too. So first off, like what's the importance of cardio to helping you gain and sustain muscle, and then we can also talk about, I guess, cardiovascular benefits and all of that. But because again, I think when most people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when most people probably hear the amount of cardio that you do, they're probably shocked.
Yeah. I mean, I've done an hour of cardio pretty much minimum my whole career. And I did that when I was at my biggest, at my leanest. Now I still do it. Um, and early on, I really discovered, I don't know who turned me onto the idea. It was a long time ago. But even when when I was still bulking and I thought that I had to get fat to get really big, and I got up to, oh God, I was like 25% body fat at one point when I did this bulk, to try to get over 260, 270 the first time. It was awful. But I still did cardio just for the recovery. And, early on, somebody had convinced me that, you know, drinking my intra workout, coming in with the amino acids and proteins or, liquid protein during the workout, and then sitting on the bike afterwards and doing some zone 2 cardio for at least 15 to 20 minutes afterwards would help recovery. And as soon as I started doing it, it changed my recovery potential. And so from then on, I just kept it up and experimented with how much I could get away with and so on and so forth. And, from then it really moved into, pretty much an hour a day, either split up or, an hour before, after lifting, typically after in those days, or separated. Um, when I was at my biggest, and it didn't matter if I was dieting for a contest or just maintaining. Um, that always looked like I'd do cardio in the morning and then go back later in the day and lift. But yeah, now, even in my old man, just trying to keep muscle on years, I still do at least 30 minutes, more like an hour of cardio, which is typically zone 2 sitting on a bike a day. And sometimes that's split up, but normally, that's after a workout, or I do, a few minutes to warm up and then do that afterwards, and finish my intra workout drink. So, that does a lot for you. I think, one, cardiovascular health, I think there's some evidence that's fairly well documented, and I think it's right. That shows that either walking or just zone 2 cardio helps at least maintain your VO2 max and may improve it. And that's important to me. I spearfish and I'm in scuba and, all that all the time. So the more that I can control my breath and my breathing rate, especially when I'm putting out underwater, that's important. And me doing cardio definitely helps maintain that. As far as losing muscle, all of that. If your calories are on point, you're not going to lose any muscle doing cardio, especially zone two. If anything, it just increases the perfusion all over your body. And when we work out, there's carbohydrates and amino acids in your bloodstream, and you're perfusing everything with that, and it just seems to do something positive. Recently talked to a powerlifter guy that stuck on all his lifts kind of in a spot, and I asked, well, when you get up, are you hungry? Well, not really, so on and so forth, and just kind of asking some simple questions, and really I think his metabolism's kind of slowed down and crashed. Recovery isn't as high as I think it should be. And, the first thing that we do with powerlifters is have them reduce the amount of fat that they're taking in and replace that with carbohydrates, kind of like what we do in bodybuilding. And I told him about recovery cardio. He's going to give it a shot this week. And, that looks like 30 minutes after his routine, sipping intra workout, and doing the same thing. So that's worked many times before for a lot of guys that have helped. And I expect that he's going to report back in 2 weeks and say, yeah, I feel great. My cardio is a little bit better and my recovery is different. Um, so I think it's important for everybody to do that. And I recommend it, even if it's 30 minutes.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of like what it's doing internally. I just know I feel so much better, dude, when I've got
Yeah.
cardio incorporated in.
Yeah.
You know, and then I heard, I don't know if you've heard of this, but I think it was on a Lane Norton podcast where, he was talking about, okay, an hour of zone two cardio has 4 times the autophagy burning benefits of intermittent fasting.
Yeah. When you're fasting like that, intermittent fasting doesn't provide the autophagy levels that everybody thinks. There's certainly other ways to do it. And I believe that's one of them.
So
Yeah.
dumb question, but I'm going to ask it because I'm dumb. And just in case anybody that's watching or listening doesn't understand, like what is zone two cardio? Like I know there's different zones. Like what is that? Is there a certain based on heart
Yeah, I mean,
rate?
officially, you can take your age, or maximum heart rate minus your age, and come up with what your maximum heart rate, or is it 220 minus your age? I think I'd have to look it up. I think it's
Yeah.
220 minus your age. That's supposed to be your maximum heart rate. And then there's different zones that they qualify: one, two, three, four, five. And to me, the easiest, I mean, you can certainly look that up, but to me, the easiest way to define that is you can have a full conversation while you're doing cardio, and it's not really hard to speak. You're not really killing it, but you're going to sweat, not really out of breath. You can speak easily. That's pretty much, that'll get you right in what for the zone two for most people. And, again, it's not really, I sweat. I certainly sweat a lot when I do it, even on the bike, but it's not like being on the stair mill. Even for me, if I'm going slow on the stair mill, I can't maintain. It's very difficult to be in zone two, maintain zone two. So it's kind of an easy cardio. And just think about you're just maintaining perfusion and getting blood flow all over your body. You can still have a conversation, and you're drinking. I like to consume amino acids, a little bit of carbohydrates during that.
So if I think about it, it's like okay, it's not like if I would think about walking terms, okay, or like walk and run, okay, it's not like
Yeah.
just a slow regular walk. It's not a
Yep.
run or a jog. It's just more of like speed walking.
100%. And walking's great too. You can do that as well. That's fine. I just use the bike because that's what I like to do.
Now, in the perfect world, which I know is tough with jobs and family and time, but in a perfect world, because like I was always, brought up back in the day of like, okay, it's best to do cardio first thing in the morning and then do your weight training later. Like if you can split them up, is that like perfect scenario, or does it even matter if you're just putting them all into one session?
Because I'm not training as hard as I have in the past, and I unfortunately I just can't. My body can't take it. But ideally, when I was really lifting and going for it, and pushing the limits, yeah, I would separate it because I wanted to be all my glycogen to be full. I wanted everything to be ready for the workout. If I did any type of warm up cardio, that kind of took away a little bit. But that being said, 15, 20 minutes on the bike to warm up is not going to affect your lifts. If it does, you got problems. And a lot of times now, I will go in the morning. I wake up really early in the morning to get it done. And I normally start on the bike, and then I kind of assess while I'm doing that, how sore I am, if I'm hurt, whatever. And, I'll kind of decide then if I'm going to lift or not. And if not, I'll do an hour on the bike and leave. If I am going to lift, I usually cut it 20, 30 minutes, and then I'm warmed up, ready to go and start my routine. If I'm in a hurry, I'll lift over that. But then typically go back either at home or, later that day and hit a little bit of cardio.
Yeah. Okay. So then you are
Now,
somebody, oh, go ahead.
yeah, but even if you're trying to gain in your off season or whatever, you know, just remember, and even if you're like me now, I'm on the other side of the hill. I'm trying to minimize muscle loss, the best that I can and stay in shape and have some type of performance left and all that. But even if you're going for it, you're trying to gain muscle, or you're where I am, where it's hard to keep anything on now. Um, that cardio, that zone two cardio helps me stay leaner.
Yeah.
Like you said, it makes me feel better. My recovery is better. It helps me stay leaner. There's just I just don't have anything negative to say about it. It really does. Now, if I did 2 hours, it'd probably affect my lifting. On the days that I decide I'm not going to lift, and I'm an hour on the bike and then I convert and decide I'm going to lift, yeah, man, I'm diminished a little bit. But there's a balance in there, and you can get away with a lot. Now, when I was at my biggest, I tried not to get over 12% body fat because it was such a bitch to fucking diet down for the stage again. So keeping in that 12, 13%, that zone two cardio, and I would do more of it, on some days, and depending what was going on, it just allowed me to process more food. And that was the goal, process as much chicken or rice as you possibly could without putting on body fat.
Yeah. Love it. Well, and then I'm also guessing, I mean, so, okay, debunk the myth that gay, you can't put on muscle while doing a lot of cardio or not a lot, but I mean,
Or
we call that a
yeah,
decent amount.
yeah, you really have to dive in to define what cardio means.
Yeah, and from like again, this is just what I hear on podcasts from like cardiologists, heart specialists, but they're like, dude, like you don't need hours a day. It's like, dude, if you do
Yeah.
30 minutes zone two a day, like that's all you need for optimal heart health, you know.
I've changed people's lives with, a 10-minute walk after their meals. I mean,
Yeah,
it's, 5, 10-minute walk. So it's not very difficult. You can do it. Everybody can fit it in.
yeah. And then speaking of that, with the other benefits, overall heart health, I've also heard neurologists say, what's good for the heart is good for the mind, so there's a lot of, benefits for the brain, reduction in
In,
Alzheimer's, all those
increased blood
things.
flow. Yeah. Increased blood flow to the brain.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So kind of switching gears, switching topics. All right, dude, I've known you for a long time now, about a decade, and you've always been in damn good shape, and I'm guilty. I'm one that will get in really good shape. Then I kind of, I never allow myself to get too far off where I can't get back
Right.
on quick, but like you are so consistent with this and you have every excuse in the book, family, demanding business, we're on the road all the time, like to not be consistent. But for those that struggle with that consistency, because I've found in all things, consistency is the key. How do you stay so damn consistent?
Good question. I don't know, man. It's just a priority for me. Mentally, there's part of the look, and I like, I like having muscle. I like keeping it on. I like the functionality of it, and what it allows me to do with the body. But all that being said, it's a mental thing too. When I leave the gym, I always feel better mentally. It's almost, it's kind of a therapy session. And it's a legit question. I mean, there's a lot of guys and a lot of peers that I've had that just fall off, and they're inconsistent, or they stop lifting at some point when they weren't, still gaining. And I get it, but for me, the mental part of it has always been the biggest benefit. The biggest benefit. And if I don't work out, I feel it mentally. It builds up. So that being said, the consistency is there because I'm addicted to what it does to me mentally and emotionally and physically. I like it, but yeah, it gets old sometimes. But it's just what I do, man. It's discipline, you know. I probably, and like you, I go in and out of shape, or what I consider in and out of good shape. But my buffer zone for kind of my comfort zone is probably more narrow than yours. When I get too lean and I'm not feeling very muscular, I do something about it. And when I get to the point where my abs are getting washed out or whatever, then I do something about it. And I'm most comfortable in my little zone. And let's face it, I mean, everybody goes through that, right? You'll go through periods of where you're really into training and really into lifting, and then sometimes where you're not. Okay, do what you can, don't push it. But there's that, and then the look aspect or the body fat level. I'm pretty diligent about staying in what I call my comfort zone. And I don't know, maybe it's just at this point, it's the discipline that I don't even question anymore.
Yeah.
It's just something that I do.
Yeah, I just did a podcast earlier today with you know, extremely successful guy in, business in the field that he's in. And, he made a comment of he's like, look, you gotta get to the point, that mental point where the pain of not doing it outweighs the pain of doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. So then it's just thinking about, okay, what are the negative consequences if I don't stay on this? Shit, now I got to go through the restarting phase all over again,
yeah.
whatever that is. But yeah, and it sounds to me like you've just made this where, like you said, okay, I prioritize it. So that to me is, it's like Tony Robbins says, we don't hit our once in life, we hit our must in life. So this is a must do for you. It's part of your identity. Like it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, and most days out and I mean, some days I'm bored, some days I'm not into it as much, but overall, I really like lifting. I like it. I've been doing it. I think I'm at 40 years now, 40 years of working out, and I still like it. Am I as passionate, or can I do the type of workouts that I once did? I can't, but that's more of the limitations on my body that I've had to accept. It's not because I don't mentally want to. If I could, I would. And I try to make that up in different ways, with intensity in different ways. But it's just something that I've really enjoyed. And when you get to that point, then you can be consistent. It's not a struggle.
Yeah.
I checked into the hotel. Shit, I get up at 6 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever it is, and I go to the fucking gym. Either externally, I'll jump in a rental car or whatever I'm doing. I'll go to the nearest gym, or if the hotel gym is decent, I get something done. I do it there. It's just how I start my day.
Yeah. And I can't think of one time ever where, as much as I didn't want to go to the gym, where I regretted it after the fact.
Except when I'm walking out fucking injured. But
Yeah, when you tear a bicep, yeah.
yeah, but you're right. It's just mentally. And there's a guy here at work too. He just went through a horrible, personal situation, and he wasn't a workout guy. And I go, hey man, just would you do me a favor, please? Go take up jujitsu. Just walk into a gym, or at least go fucking lift weights. And he made the decision, or got convinced beyond me, to start working out. And I see him at the work meeting, and he's lean. Probably got some muscle on. He's wearing corporate clothes, but definitely look leaner. Got rid of the pot belly, and he's like, "Hey, man, I feel fucking great." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you." And it really is. There's just such a mental benefit and emotional benefit from it. I really think, and if you listen to Joe Rogan, he said this a million times, but I really think that we're programmed. We just, as men and women, you just have to go and put yourself through some hard shit physically.
Yeah.
And if you do, it just makes everything else better.
Yeah. Yeah, 1000%, dude. And then what about diet? Because it's one thing to go to the gym, but man, six packs are made in the kitchen. And then I know we've talked about this on previous podcasts, but since we're on this topic, I want to kind of re-ask you, especially like for me, it's easy. I mean, it's still not easy, but my situation is much easier than you because, dude, my kitchen is 20 steps to my left. I
Yeah.
work at my home in my home office all day long. Like you're on airplanes, you're in hotel rooms, you're in,
Uh-huh.
so meal prepping is so much different for my world versus your world, but you don't let that be an excuse. You still do it.
In the suitcase, I got my protein powder and my aminos, man. It doesn't really change. So, it's, I just bring it with me. I always do. I can't bring food with me on trips like this, but I have my protein powder. And so And now because I'm leaner, I'm specifically a lot leaner right now. I wake up at like 3 in the morning. I'm fucking starving, and so I have a shake made. Typically the hotel has a little fridge. If they don't, I don't care. I'll use water. But I make my shake so that when I get up to piss at 3 in the morning, I hit the shake, and then I got my aminos to add to my water, and it doesn't really change much. There's always going to be protein available depending on where you're eating, but you can always get eggs for breakfast, and then for lunch and dinner, I can always get meat and carbs, and that's just it. I stick to the routine, and same thing at home. So I just bring it with me, you know.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. All right, man. So switching gears again, I can't go a day without listening to a podcast or somewhere where I'm not, and even podcasts that are around health and fitness, yeah, right, where they're
Yeah,
talking about this methylene blue.
methylene blue. Yep.
Yeah, any good, bad, worth trying. Like, what is this all about?
I mean, it's been around for a long time, dude. I've heard of it, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It was really on the fringe back then, a little bit harder to get, but yeah, you're in recent times, everybody's talking about it, everybody's using it. Um, you know, for me, I mean, it's supposed to improve mitochondrial function and potentially boosting cellular energy. It may support brain health and have this nootropic properties, and be anti-inflammatory and all this stuff. But it falls into the category of me like a lot of these things that boost mitochondrial health. If your metabolism is healthy, like if you're lean and you're doing cardio, you probably have healthy mitochondria. If you're obese and have a hard time processing food, you're typically not hungry when you wake up. I mean, all those things, that's what they call mitochondrial dysfunction, or you're metabolically broken. Um, when I take methylene blue, if I take a large enough dose, which is pretty significant, and it turns your pee blue, I kind of feel it a little bit. I might feel it for a day or two, but if I keep taking it every day, I don't really feel it. And that's because I'm metabolically healthy. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about it. It's one of those things. I take so much stuff for brain health, as you know. I mean, that's our supplement. Um, I don't know that this is gonna. I can't say that this was ever had a nootropic property on me. If anything, it was a little boost of energy for a day or two, but then after that, I don't feel it. And so to me, that's something that I'm not using every day. If you want to try it, there's capsules, there's liquid. Um, I will tell you this: it stains the fuck out of everything. So be careful. Use a stainless steel cup or a glass or something, and be careful with it. And then do not get the tablets, or there's little lozenges. Do not let those open up or go in your mouth, because then you're gonna have a fucking blue mouth for a couple days. But
Wasn't that Liver King like when his mouth was all blue
yeah,
always? Okay.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to try it, try it. But I'm just not sold on metabolically healthy people are going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I was listening to a guy that's taking it that had to change out all his toilets to black toilets in his house because it was staying in his toilet. And I was
It's
like,
so
well, I don't
stupid.
know.
Come on, man. What are you doing? I don't. Look, if we're talking, the first time I took Tren, yeah, okay, I'm gonna stay on it. There's something that happened, or whatever. I could feel it. But this stuff, it's one of those things. I don't get, like if I'm deficient in B vitamins, like I haven't taken them for a while, and then I take them that first day, I get a little energy boost, and then I'm fine. Or if I'm eating foods with B, I don't really feel it, so I don't typically remember to take it. I just haven't been sold on the fact that I need to take it all the time, and it's one of those things. If I don't feel it, I'm not taking it.
Well, if you're not
But
taking it consistently, then that's all the answer I need. You know?
um, and there's all kinds of things. If you read about what it's supposed to do, it's like everything. It may support this, it might do that, it does this. If you talk to somebody who's selling it or has an affiliate code, it does everything. So but that being said, it's pretty cheap. If you want to try it, try it. I don't know, but for me, it wasn't one of those things that blew me away and said, yeah, I need to take this. And again, if you go onto a peptide website like our friends, at Lead Research, there's all these kind of things that are supposed to boost mitochondrial health and give you all this energy and all this stuff. But if you're metabolically healthy, it's not going to do a lot for you. I have yet to be proven otherwise by anyone or myself.
Yeah, and like when you're telling me that, where my mind goes is that's maybe masking a problem that you should fix, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
like taking pain pills or ibuprofen. Now, there might be time where they're necessary,
yeah.
but then it's like, well, dude, like maybe this is hurting for a reason. I need to pay attention to this and shift some things up to rehab it correctly to get it fixed. So then it's like, well, if you need that for energy, maybe that's a sign that you just need to go get
Maybe you
healthy.
should do some, yeah, you should do some rounds of hit cardio and sit in the sauna. I mean, that's probably the fastest way to improve that. But yeah, I don't know. And stay lean, not be obese. But that being said, I don't think it's going to harm you, but I certainly wouldn't. I don't think you need to turn your toilet fucking blue either. I don't think that's beneficial. That's a large dose, and those are you usually have to take a capsule for that.
Okay.
But you know, I don't know. It's one of those things.
All right. So last question for you for the day, man, is unless you have anything that you want to hit on, but is you just talked about hit cardio. So I know you're doing your, roughly an hour a day, zone two, post workout. Um, are you doing any element of like high intensity cardio, like twice a week, 3 times a week? I know you probably get some of that when you're diving, but do you do anything or do you recommend that as well, where you are really, getting that heart rate up?
I mean, ideally, yeah, if I had the energy to do it, I would do it. But I'm typically too lazy, or I really have to be motivated to get on the stair mill. That being said, if I have stubborn fat or I'm trying to cut body fat, the bike ain't doing it, man. I got to get on the stair mill. But for rounds of cardio like that are very challenging, yeah, if I notice that I'm underwater and I'm trying to keep up with my partner, or I get caught in a current or something like that, and I'm having a hard time, or I feel like I'm going to puke, for trying to fin out of it. Then I go step it back up for a while until I build up my cardio such that I feel kind of better to be in those situations. But ideally, I think it's beneficial, 1 or 2 times a week to hit a really high intensity round of cardio, even if it's for 15 minutes.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end it, unless there's anything else that you want to add based on what we were talking about today.
yeah, man. I think that's it.
All right, groovy. And you guys make sure to check out forjlife.com. That's forgelife.com. Go check out Jim Brown's formulation of our new nootropic. Promise you, you won't regret it. Jim, as always, man, appreciate you taking time to be here with us, brother.
Yeah, man. Always fun. Always fun.
Yeah, and those watching, listen, we truly appreciate you guys. Keep crushing it, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.